All right, well, welcome to the fourth Sweaty Record Reviews with Skye. Someone's in my house right now, so I can't record there. It's my 41st birthday, so it's actually kind of fitting. My first concert was back in 1992, and it was Paul McCartney. And the first thing he said was, "Hello, Boston!" And this woman behind me just goes, "It's Worcester!" Which is still my favorite concert memory. And then last year, 2018, I went to a Paul McCartney concert in Syracuse with my dad, so it's kind of a full circle thing. And the thing about Paul McCartney that amazes me is, why is he doing it? Why does he release an album like every year? I mean, you think about anyone else, like the Stones come out with an album every, decade basically. Pete Townsend, The Who, the rest of them. I mean, they come out with records sometimes, but Paul McCartney is relentless. And he's on this constant search for relevancy. You know, he asked Tom York to do a record, and Tom York was like, no. And he did that stuff with Kanye and Rihanna, and he's just trying really hard to stay relevant. And I just wonder why. What is it? And I think, when I think about Paul McCartney, and the way we should think of him as a solo artist, is not compared to the Beatles. I think we need to compare him to his first record, McCartney, which if you don't have it, you should get it. He records every note that's played on the record is by him, every instrument, every note that's sung. And it's this amazingly personal thing. You know, he gets out of the Beatles and he finally gets to do everything that he wants. And it's kind of an uneven record. There's like these sort of lazy instrumental songs, which I like a lot. There's some kind of cheesy songs about his wife. It's sort of everything that's good and bad about Paul McCartney in one. So for me, I think the way we should judge Paul McCartney records is, how close are they to that original expression of Paul McCartney-ness, the post-Beatles McCartney-ness. So that's where I am going to be analyzing this record, Egypt Station. Again, I just listened to it once. As you can tell, I did a lot of extra workout, because if I'm in good shape, then I will never die. That's my current theory. It's working out so far. And I came up with this idea while I was on the elliptical, which is we need to come up with a scale for McCartney albums. On the one side, there's McCartney-ness, right? How close is it to McCartney's first record, McCartney? And then the other side is, how close is it to Paul McCartney with his crazy orange hair? You know, because he has this orange hair right now, and it's kind of funny because he's 78 or whatever he is, and he has this ridiculously orange hair, and I think that represents everything that's not good, or every bad instinct in Paul McCartney. He's trying to look young, he's trying to act young, and he's not. He's an older person, and whenever he tries to do that, it sort of has that weird affectation about him. That's also something that I think is a problem. And if we look at this record, I would say you could actually divide it in two. The first half is orange hair, bad, and then the second half is McCartney-esque, and is actually quite good. So, you know, it starts off with this kind of cheesy piano song, and he's asking, what's the quote? What's the matter with me? And it's kind of forced introspection that you don't really feel. And then it goes into this really awkward, sex song where he's talking about oh, you want to come on to me? It really is just awkward stuff. You don't want to hear Paul McCartney singing about groupies. And it gets more and more of that kind of weird affectation where he's trying to be either sort of super rocky or super sweet. And then it reaches the nadir of the record, which is a song called Who Cares, which is so bad, it is almost as bad as the Eagles song Get Over It, which, if you don't know the song Get Over It by the Eagles, just listen to it. It's the worst song. It may be the worst song ever recorded, and that's even including the rest of the Eagles catalog. And then right in the middle, there's this splitting point, and that's the song Fuh You, which is the single. And it's weird because it doesn't fit in with the rest of the record at all. All I can see, I don't do research when I do these, I just look at the credits on Tidal while I'm, running around in circles like a hamster. And it's the only one that he didn't really produce. It's done by some other guy, and it feels like it's trying to be a Chainsmokers song. It feels like it's trying to be a Imagine Dragons song. It has that level of production, and it's a good song. It's fine, but it is out of place with the rest of the album. And then after that, it goes all McCartney. Most of the stuff after that is recorded by himself. There's a lot less of the affectation. In particular, the song Confidant is a really nice one, because he's very clearly talking about his recent divorce, and it's not super bitter, but it shows a real sense of emotion. He has a song called People Want Peace, which when I saw that, I was like, oh, this is just going to be terrible. But it's actually an okay song, although I imagine live it'd be intolerable with people chanting along. Oh no, someone's parking next to me. This is a little bit awkward. It's okay, I'm just going to keep going here in the parking lot of the YMCA. And then by far the best track on the record, if you're going to listen to one, track down the song Dominos. It has a little bit of that, the theme of the record, which is kind of one about death and getting old, which is a little bit lame for an old rock star, but it's okay. But the production is this really nice production that he does when he's doing it mostly himself. So it's kind of like the first record, McCartney, back in '70, in the way that it's kind of muted. It feels, he has a drumming style because he plays drums on most of the record, which actually, if you listen to Paul McCartney, you realize his biggest influence isn't Ringo, it's probably Charlie Watts. He, actually on Dominos, it's a straight up honky-tonk woman drum line. And that's just a great track, and I'd put that up there with anything that he's done since the Beatles. As a closing note, I will say to you what I said to my son the other day. We were listening to Revolver. No matter what Paul McCartney does, no matter how cheesy he is, the orange hair and the getting knighted and trying to play with whoever's hot, just remember the guy wrote and recorded the song for no one, which, if there's ever been a better song about a breakup, about heartbreak, I don't think there ever has been. And I don't think there's signs of that on this, but there's at least signs of what he was able to do afterward. So my final review of McCartney, Egypt Station. Okay, I have to come up with these cute little three-word things. I would say more McCartney than orange hair. All right. Oh my gosh, it's over 6 minutes. Yeah, it's my birthday, and no one's gonna watch it anyway. Okay. Goodbye, nobody.